Hi, I'm Rabbi Keith Stern of Temple Beth, Avodah, and I'm here to talk about Passover with you. Not in the traditional way of face-to-face learning, but a virtual learning experience where for 3 different sessions I'll be putting up what I hope will be some interesting, provocative texts about different aspects of Passover that we'll read each at our leisure, but then hopefully you will respond by adding your thoughts to the ones that I'll have on the blog as I'll have some questions that will hopefully pique your interest to look at the text in a different way, and then to fill your own interpretation of the text, and then to really bounce off of each other's ideas. Passover, after all, is the ultimate learning experience holiday. In fact, I will have to be honest with you, just like I've heard that when girls have lots of dolls, they never want to say out loud which one is their favorite because they don't want to hurt the other doll's feelings. I have to admit, and I hope God will forgive me, that of all the great holidays on the Jewish calendar, Passover is the best. It's the best for some pretty clear reasons. Number 1, it's a gathering of family. Number 2, it's all that great food. Number 3, it's about laughter, it's about celebration. But there's more. Number 4, it's about learning. It's about talking about the experience of the Exodus and the experience of redemption. These experiences of our ancestors form the foundation of our understanding of ourselves as Jews and as a community today. And not just us, but if you look at the past several hundred years, different peoples at different times have taken the Exodus story and used it as their own to extol their own sense of the virtues of freedom and liberty. So whether it was African slaves brought to this country, whether it was the founding fathers of this country who really wanted to use the Exodus story as part of a larger national narrative about the founding of the United States. It's used in so many places, in so many ways. And so we're going to explore what some of those deeper meanings and connections are. This is not going to be a Passover 101. There's so many places you can get that, and I'm not a cartoon. You can look at cartoons and all other kinds of things. But what I'm going to give you instead is 3 different sessions, and each one will try to go a little deeper than perhaps you've thought about wanting to go or had the sense to want to go for your studies of Passover. Will this material be usable at your Passover Seder? Absolutely. But I would say first and foremost, this is not about how to do a better Seder. This is really about how to appreciate Passover even more and to push you to think more about different aspects of it than perhaps you've thought about. So the first topic will be the Passover story. That is to say, where does this story come from? And perhaps more to the point, did it really happen? And the conversation that ensues if the answer is, of course it happened, or if the answer is, of course it never happened, what does that mean? How do we deal with the lack or abundance of historical evidence to claim there was in fact a group of slaves that were redeemed from the land of Egypt, who are our ancestors? So I'm going to give you some different texts about that. There was a big controversy about that. David Wolpe, a really very well-known rabbi in California from a conservative synagogue, wrote an article in which he said, of course, it didn't happen. And in the year 2001, the result, it was like it was the middle of the 17th century. So we'll talk about the sensitivity to the story, and is it real or not, and what all of that means. The second topic that we're going to deal with, one that's very intriguing, is the number 4. The number 4 in the Passover story is everywhere, whether it's 4 questions, whether it's the 4 children's testimony, whether it's 4 cups of wine. The number appears over and over again. So what's in a number? What's in the number 4? We're going to look at some texts and see and try to make some interesting connections between Passover, perhaps other holidays, that this number 4 actually extends out of Passover to other observances. And the third topic we're going to cover is redemption. Now, if you're not religiously, spiritually minded, redemption is what you call it when you would bring coupons to the supermarket and you'd get something in return for them. Well, we're not talking about coupons here. Redemption. What does redemption mean in our own story? What does it mean that the Exodus sort of is the culmination of our experience with God up to that point that results in our redemption, our freeing from Egypt? How do we deserve this redemption? Do we expect a redemption? In Christian thought, the coming of Jesus as the Christ is indeed the redemption of the world. And Christ's return is the completion of his presence on earth. For Jews who do not have that narrative as part of our story, what does that mean in relation to our story of redemption? And how does it affect our thinking and our belief? And finally, and this relates to thinking about Jesus of Nazareth, and it's really thinking about what is a Messiah? How is the Messiah and the idea of the Messiah tied into the Passover story at our Passover Seder? In more ways than you will probably imagine. And all of that will be presented to you in the form of various texts with accompanying questions. I do very much look forward to sharing this information with you and entering into a really good dialogue. And that's my only request if you've stuck with this video up till now, and that is that for this to truly work, for it to be effective, then you need to share some thoughts. You don't have to be overly expansive, even just a sentence. When I grew up, we thought this. Anything that will provide material for us to share together. That's really what it's all about. So please do join me, and there'll be information along with this that will tell you where to click when, and I look forward to studying with you in preparation for Passover. This is not about sweeping out the chametz, this is about adding in to our minds some good and productive new ideas.